Hey, good afternoon. So I woke up this morning and listened to the news, looked at the news, checked the news, and I felt that old pull, that old heaviness, frustration at what's going on in the world. And then I remembered the news isn't reality. Ha! The news isn't reality. It's a mirror of what used to be. And my job, our job, is to hold the vision of what's coming, the good news that the world is waiting for. Welcome to Walking the Path. That is what we are talking about today at One Mint with the World. Hey, Brother David, so good to see you. Thank you for joining. Um, you know, this topic, this is the fourth in a series that we've talked about this month of October of atonement or at one mint. And week one, the first week of October, was forgiveness. We talked about atonement and forgiveness at one mint, that it doesn't really mean penance, but it means a return like the prodigal son or daughter returning home when there never was, the father or the mother never kicked us out. We left, right? That's the prodigal son or prodigal daughter. So the first week was about atonement, about returning. The second week, we explored Anthony DeMello's essay, Show No Partiality, and we talked about sacred neutrality. The last week, third week, we were talking about unity and diversity, how to bring that into action in the world. And this week, at one mint, from division to wholeness. So I'd like to remind us all. Actually, this is one of Reverend Michael's great teachings, that the news isn't really new at all. It's a condensation of previously held beliefs, opinions, points of view, perspective. That what we're experiencing, this follows the spiritual principle that consciousness precedes form. What we're experiencing is the condensation of our consciousness, individually and collectively, in this uh, in this moment. So what we're experiencing now isn't is the effect of our thinking, our feeling, really about our feeling. And it's sort of a snapshot of what we used to believe. That's a better way to say it. It's a snapshot of what we used to believe. Yesterday's beliefs, yesterday's fears, yesterday's arguments and agreements made visible in our reality today. Now, if we only react to what's going on, then we're just reinforcing that cycle. But if we can look through the appearances, we can transform it. And so, what Yeshua ben Yusuf uh, is saying, what Martin Luther King Jr. is saying, what Nelson Mandela is saying, and so many others, Reverend Michael is saying, is that our practice is to hold a higher vision in the midst of turbulence. Yeshua ben Yusuf said, don't get caught up in appearances. Things are not what they appear to be. Our practice is to hold a vision independent of circumstance and condition, right? Someone has to be thinking about reconciliation instead of revenge. Someone has to be thinking about peace and love instead of giving as good as I get and making sure nobody walks over me and gets away with it, right? Somebody's got to be thinking about it differently, and that's us. And we have these visionaries of wholeness that remind us. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream. He held a vision of a dream of children playing together and people being seen for who they are, not for their outward appearance. And he held that vision when everything in reality denied it. Nelson Mandela, the same thing, held a vision of reconciliation, held a vision of what his government would be like, um, held a vision of the peace and reconciliation tribunals before he was out of prison. He was holding a vision of what he wanted to see, and he lived that vision, and put it into action. And We hear from Yeshua ben Yusuf, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Don't get caught up in appearances. Look at the reality of spirit behind them. So all of these luminaries are teaching us, listen, I know stuff's going on, but if we react to what's going on, we're getting caught in the cycle. If we can hold a vision of independent of the circumstance and condition, if I can see something with my spiritual vision, my spiritual eyes, if I can see that, my dog's going crazy, sorry. If I can see that, then the principle of consciousness precedes form is at play. In other words, it is biblical. And it is scientific. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh. In Aramaic, it's not translated as the word or logos. It's translated as the self-existent mind energy. In the beginning, there was a self-existent mind energy, an energy of thought, consciousness. And that consciousness was with God. Well, quantum physics talks about consciousness, the unified field of infinite potential and infinite possibility. This unified field of potentiality and possibility, that's the mind of God to me. God is all things possible in God. We've heard that. How is that possible? Well, because there's something that exists outside of time and space, outside of this temporal expression that is eternal. Eternal isn't a bunch of time put together. Eternal is outside of time. And that field of infinite potential and infinite possibility exists all at once. Everything happening all at the same time in this field that is in a place that is no place, in a time that is no time. The unified field. And so the possibility of peace exists. The possibility of us living harmoniously with the environment in a sustainable way exists. The possibility of us being able to disagree respectfully and hold different opinions with respect exists. The possibility of having healthy, whole, vibrant individuals exists. The possibility of there being enough water, enough food, enough housing for everybody exists. It exists. That potential exists. Now, can we hold it in consciousness? Because consciousness precedes form, or form follows consciousness. So Yeshua ben Yusuf is telling us, Martin Luther King Jr. is telling us, Nelson Mandela is telling us that don't get caught up in the way things look right now. As Reverend Michael reminds us, that's just our old beliefs being made manifest in this experience. And our job is to hold in our consciousness that which we want to experience in reality. And so going back to, in the beginning, there was the Word. In the beginning, there was a self-existent mind energy, and that mind energy was in the unified field, was in the realm of infinite potential and infinite possibility, and it became flesh. It became material. It took from a potential to a real form, from potential to form. This is our power. This is who we are, made in the image and likeness of God. Not that we look like God, but that we have all the qualities of God. And the number one quality of God is creator. We are creators, not creatures. And so what are we creating? What are we creating with this amazing consciousness? Am I holding in my heart? And remember, the universe is a feeling universe. Quantum physics tells us it's all vibration and frequency. So what are we vibrating at? What is our frequency? Is our frequency, I'm holding the potential of peace. I'm holding the potential that there's a world that works for the best and highest individual and collective good. Am I holding that and not get caught up in appearances? It's hard. It's not easy, but it's definitely available for us. And we have examples of individuals who have created amazing things in our culture and in their individual lives with this very principle. Now, another piece that I love to bring in is the 100th monkey. The 100th monkey effect is that, like, once we have a critical mass of awareness, it ripples across the entire field of consciousness. And so the 100th monkey is a story of, not a story, it's a book about a group of scientists in the 60s, late 60s, that were studying the behavior of primates on islands that were uninhabited off the coast of Japan. And they would throw sweet potatoes up on the shore and watch how monkeys would distribute um, and utilize these sweet potatoes. Well, when they threw the sweet potatoes up on the shore, they would get sandy, right? They would throw it on the beach and they get sandy. And the monkeys would eat the sweet potatoes with the sand. Well, one day, a female monkey they were observing started washing her sweet potato, and she taught her other family to wash the sweet potato, and they taught their friends and extended family to wash the sweet potato. And when the 100th monkey on the one island started washing its sweet potato, all the monkeys on all the islands started washing their sweet potato. So consciousness is contagious. Once we reach a critical mass, it affects the entire field. So what are we holding? Are we staying in the awareness that what we are experiencing right now, whether you like it or not, is actually a condensation of your own, my own, our own collective thinking? That we're actually collectively responsible for this, not just them? This is a new an invitation to hold the vision and then act as guided, right? So when we choose peace again and again, when we choose to participate in the evolution of consciousness, every peaceful breath is activism. Every peaceful breath is activism at the level of consciousness. So be a radical activist in your consciousness, and then from that level of consciousness, there may be something to do. You may be inspired to volunteer, to write, to give, to listen, to share, to hold peace. To something may arise from this awareness of wholeness, this awareness of our unity, the awareness of our ability to create from nothing. So we want to hold the vision and then take inspired action from wholeness, not inspired action from outrage. Right? That's how we become the good news in human form. We become a portal. We were talking about the unified field. We were talking about the possibility of peace existing. I have to become a portal. I have to become an opening. I have to become a channel for that peace to come from the eternal, from the unified field, and become flesh in me. I have to do that. I get to do that. That's what you get to do. That's what we get to do. So this is how we become the good news in human form. And I love the story of the 100th monkey, because it really does remind me of how important we are individually, and that we're not our own healing. This is really how individual healing becomes global transformation. How our individual, it is not selfish that you're going to retreats. It's not selfish that you're taking time to watch this talk. It's not selfish that you're doing your meditation, that you're doing your work. It's not selfish that you're working on your healing, because if we don't heal, we're just going to be part of that collective expression of fear, doubt, worry, lack, limitation, not enoughness, illness. We just become a part of the reactivity of what's already so. We just keep reacting and we perpetuate it. But if we can separate ourselves in consciousness from believing that what we're experiencing right now is reality, it's not reality. It's a condensation of our old beliefs. It's the old vision that we used to hold, the old consciousness, the consciousness that we used to hold being expressed in this moment. Consciousness precedes form. Therefore, the form that we're experiencing right now is an expression of our consciousness in the past. So what are we holding now? How are we opening up to become a portal for peace, for love, for vitality, for health, for creativity, for excellence, for joy, for beauty, for intelligence, for community, for oneness? To enter, it's got to enter through us. We have to become the place through which that possibility can take form, can become reality in this material world. So that's my talk today. I will have one more week of at 1 mint, atonement at 1 mint next week. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and many blessings. Thank you.